Welcome to section 0.5, percents, rounding, and estimating. In this section, we're going to focus only on percents, specifically understanding what percents are, changing from decimals to percents to decimals, and then some basic problems involving percent. We're not going to get into estimation and rounding, though those are very valuable tools, as the focus of this class is to be focused to help you teach you how to be exact and so forth. But I'd encourage you to go back and take some time, look over that portion of this section. It'll be very valuable in a lot of things you can do and help you in a lot of different ways. So let's just jump in and start talking about what are percents. Well, a percent means parts per hundred, per cent meaning 100. And many of you know cent is 100 because 1 cent is 1/100th of something. A century is 100 years, and so forth. And per is kind of dividing into, it means to divide. So parts per 100, I'm really asking, out of 100 pieces, what's going on? So an example would be if I said 5%. Well, 5% means 5 out of 100. So 5% of the population does something. That means if I grab 100 people, 5 of them will usually, that'll work out for. Now, there's a nice interesting thing when we start talking about how to go from decimals to percents and percents to decimals. To understand this, I would recommend just looking at how many decimal places you have to go in which direction. So decimals to percents, I'm going to take the decimal place and I'm going to move it 2 spots to the right. And with percent to decimal, I'm going to move it 2 spots to the left. So notice, in both cases I'm moving it 2 spots. The question is, in which direction? The clue is the alphabet. I know you're like, what, the alphabet? The alphabet's going to help me with percents? Yes. Here's why. If you know the alphabet, if you don't know it, sing the song A, B, C, D, E, F, G, and you'll probably remember it. Well, where are D and F for decimal and percent? Well, they're right there. I just bolded them. D and F. D and P. So if I'm in decimal, which direction do I have to go to get to P? I got to go to the right. If I'm in percent, P, which direction I have to go to get to decimal? Back to the left. So the alphabet kind of can give you an understanding about which direction to go, and then you just always have to remember it's 2 spots because it's 100. So just like we did in section 0.4, multiplying by 100 means you're moving the decimal spot. Multiplying and dividing by 100, it has 2 zeros, so you're moving the decimal place 2 spots. The question is, in which direction? So let's just get some practice on this. So let's change decimals to percents. So first off, I have a decimal place 0.46. Remember, decimals to percents, I'm moving the decimal place 2 spots to the which direction? The right. So 2 spots means I'm going to take it and move it 1, 2. It means it's 46%. Okay. What about 3.5? So again, percents means I'm going to move it to the right. How many spots? 2. So if I move it 2 spots, notice I have to add 0, so it's 350%. That's kind of that's valuable to recognize that this can turn out to be over 100%. That's okay. What about this number? 0.152. Well, I'm moving it 2 spots to the right, which means I'm going to move it boom, boom, and that means between the 5 and the 2 is where the new decimal place is, and then you add the percent symbol. So notice my percents can have decimals in them. What I'm saying is this is what's known as decimal notation, and this is what's known as percent notation. So going from decimal to percent, we move it to the right 2 spots. So with that in mind, can you change 0.0005 to a percent? Pause the video and do that. Okay, moved it 2 spots to the right, you should have gotten 0.05%. Really small, but it has some importance, actually, that value. Okay, now we've done decimals to percents. Can we go the other way? Let's start with percents and move back to decimals. So I have 8%, and the question is, how do I change 8% to a decimal? Well, remember, decimals to percents, I'm going to take the decimal place, which is right here behind the 8, and move it to the left 2 spots. So this comes out to be 0.08. Okay. What about 0.21%? So how much we move in the decimal place and in which direction? Go ahead and pause the video and figure that out. All right. So again, percent to decimal means I'm going to the left 2 spots. So this turns out to be 0.0021. Really small number. Okay. What about 251.2%? Pause the video and turn that to a decimal. Well, if you did that, you would have moved it to the left 2 spots, which makes it 2.512. So we're just moving the decimal place 2 spots to make it in the appropriate way. So decimals and percents, like I said, the alphabet really helps you kind of keep that in control. Okay, last one, and for changing percents to decimals, I want you to change 35% to a decimal. Go ahead. All right, if you did it, it should have come out as 0.35 because we moved the decimal place 2 spots to the left. All right, now as we wrap this up, I would encourage you to practice not just how to do decimals, percents, but mix it up. Do some decimals to percents immediately by percents and decimals and so forth. If you just do one at a time, your mind won't be able to retain the information quite as well. All right, continue on to the second video to see more about how we can solve some basic percent problems.